I would do if I were you and you're starting out is get really clear about what it is you do, what it is that you do well and you can get paid for, and just lean really hard into that and forget all of the shiny objects for a while until you actually have some traction and you can do some of the other fun stuff.
What up, everyone? All right. How are we doing? Kayla, how are we doing tonight?
So good.
So good.
So good. Overcoming technical issues is empowering.
That's what we do. That is what we do. So we're going to give it a quick second here while we let people come into the chat as we first kick this off. So we'll just give it a second. Just so everybody knows, we had a little bit of those awesome technical difficulties that always happen on a first time, right?
Always.
No matter what it is, the first time, even if you've done it a million times and you're doing it different.
Even when you're early and you have a cup of tea and you think it's all going to be easy, it's not. It's like project management.
Right there, right? It just always happens. And look at how cool, calm, and collective we are. Like we've done this before.
Confidence is calm.
That's it. Mm-hmm. Hey, we've got people coming in. Hey, Brooke, Sam, Adam, Anna, Elias, what's going on? How you doing? Best music intro ever.
That's good. What was that?
That's a friend of mine. I got a friend. His name is Dr. John. And what Dr. John does is he writes music for slot machines.
For what?
Slot machines. He's a master musician from Berkeley School of Music. Went out and made a career doing all kinds of stuff, and he ended up writing music for slot machines. He's brilliant.
That's great.
Yeah. So, all right, we have people coming in. So I'm just going to go ahead and kick this off. We've got hey, Joseph, how you doing? Joseph's in the house.
Hi, Joseph. Hi, Cam.
All right, everybody. Nicole. We got Nicole.
Yeah.
It's the first time curse. So here's the thing. So Sam, I got her on the back. I'm like, Sam, we got some technical difficulties. What do we do? And she's like, breathe. It's like, yeah, I'm still breathing. And then she told me the same thing happened to her. It's just that's what happens, right?
That's what happens.
All right. Yeah. So everyone, I'm really excited for this show. This is really special. We're kicking off Project Revolution Live. And this is something I've been toying with for the last 6 to 8 months of how I wanted to do this and what I wanted it to be about and how we could deliver maximum information, tangible results to project management, business owners, our people here on LinkedIn, and really bring the best of the best at what they do. And then we share some of those tips and tricks and secrets that we have to help move you along in your business on your journey. And I'm really, really excited because we've got Miss Kayla McGuire as our first guest. Now, is this your first live, Kayla?
It is. Yeah. I'm very overstimulated right now because there's all kinds of things happening on the screen. It's exciting though.
You got me.
And I'm so excited to be your first guest.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So for everybody here's the thing. We're gonna really, we're gonna have some, great conversation here. We're gonna really be talking about a lot of interesting things. And this is a conversation, but this is also a conversation we want you to join in. So we're gonna be watching you in the chat. If you want results and you've got questions, right now you've got two very knowledgeable people here that can answer some of those questions. So we're gonna start having this conversation, and I want you to drop your questions in the chat. Drop them in there, and we'll start pulling them up and get to them as we can, because this is for you, and we want to make sure that we're focused in helping you on your journey here. So with that being said, everybody, my name is Jeremiah Hammon, and I am the founder of Project Revolution. I am a PMP. I love project management. I've written a book called The Project Management Pathway, and I'm a co-author of a book, Executing Excellence, with Kayla and with Joseph down here, who's in the crowd. She's got it. And this is the Project Revolution Live, and we're gonna kick this off now with Kayla. And Kayla, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Let everybody know who you are, what you do, and let's go from there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again, Jeremiah, for allowing me to be your first guest. I'm so excited. My name is Kayla McGuire, and I am the founder of Kayla McGuire Consulting. I help small businesses between 2 and 30 employees operationalize efforts and actually get things done through the implementation of simple project management best practices. So that's what I do. You may also know me as the freelance project manager, which is another passion that I have, teaching project managers how they can go and become solopreneurs just like I did.
So that's awesome. So when you talk about, working, you started your own business, and you started your own business back, what was it, 2020?
2020 officially. Yep. Full-time 2021. Mm-hmm.
And you've got a really cool story, and you've gained this following on LinkedIn, right? You're gaining this following. You got a lot of momentum, and you're really, you started so tell us the story of how you got into starting your business and what you did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, it was 2020 and I was working for a tech startup. We didn't secure the funding that we thought we would. And so we had a doors closed moment, and that was just a couple weeks before the start of the pandemic. This all just so happened to coincide with a bunch of life experiences that I had that kind of leveled me, and I ended up starting over in many ways. And as I was searching for a job during the pandemic with my daughter who was in kindergarten, and I was homeschooling her, all kinds of fun stuff happening right there. I thought, you know what, I don't see very much information about project management in startups and small teams. Everything I was finding on the internet was like project management certification and trainings. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'm just going to start talking about this. So I started blogging. And then upon the encouragement of my friend, I started a YouTube channel. And through the YouTube channel, I started meeting people. People found my content, they reached out, and I landed clients. And I was like, man, maybe I could do this full time. So when I got laid off from my next job, which happens a lot in startups, I thought, okay, I'm just going to do this full time. I'm going to go after this full time. And it's been a journey ever since. I've gone from managing projects for agencies and small businesses, to developing training programs, to doing the work that I do now, which is more like fractional COO and project consulting. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, that's interesting, and you've been entrepreneur for a lot longer than that, right? Or solopreneur. You've always it's kind of like you don't just wake up and decide I'm going to start a business. It's kind of built into you. I mean, you've tried things along the way, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I will not go into all the different ideas that I have had and failed at. But yeah, it's been something. I actually just had a post, I think it was earlier this week, a little bit about my journey in entrepreneurship. And it started with my uncle when I was 20 and helped him open his coffee shop, and fell in love with entrepreneurship and thought, I'm going to do this somehow, some way. And it's been my journey. And I've been working with startups for quite some time as well. And that's a lesson in business right there.
Yeah, that's neat. So funny thing, and I don't know if I've ever told you this. So just so everybody knows, Kayla and I, we've worked together in real life. We've actually, she brought me on to do some trains, and then we've just had kind of built this relationship. So we've had quite a few conversations in the background of, LinkedIn, and just in life about a lot of things. But so I come from my family have all been entrepreneurs in some way. My uncle started a business in Nevada, and it's a very well-known construction company now. And he started, and here's the thing, you got Tesla out there. And so he started out in Reno, or actually in Fallon, Nevada, and it's grown. And so all of these people my grandfather bought up a bunch of the property there. My uncle owns it, and he basically segregated it. And then with the fact that he was going to sell the property, but he'd have to build the house.
Yeah.
Right. So you do that. And then Tesla came out there, and he's just a local contractor. And so he's got his hand, out there as they're growing all this area. So, my dad's always done it. Even my stepdad, they own a company. I helped my family start a restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All of these things.
Well,
and so it's kind of like it's built into you. Once you get the bug, I'm not sure if it ever goes away. Like, I won't know what I would do if, tomorrow is, I'm just going to do the 9 to 5 the rest of my life, and that's it. It's like, it just doesn't feel satisfying. It's almost like we're compelled to be driven to get things done, right? We're compelled to do it our way, how we want to do it to help other people. Like there's a bigger drive behind it. What's your drive?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, yes, agree with the drive thing. There's like a level of intensity about me as well, which I think is similar to yours. And it's just like this need to do something purposeful. And it's very deep for me. I forgot what your question was. I think it was it what drives you?
Yeah. What's like basically what's your why? What drives you? What keeps you doing it?
Oh,
I mean, because it's not
right.
easy. It's hard, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, my why, yeah, it's so big. I mean, I could say like my why is, of course, my daughter and creating a better life there and those sorts of things. But I think really my why beyond just loving business and loving what I do is giving back to the younger version of myself who is like represented in all of humanity, if that makes any sense. It's like giving back to that earlier version of ourselves to help make things a little bit better. That's what I think about a lot when I'm doing my work. And that's why I share the stories that I share on LinkedIn, because I think there's a lot of power in that and feeling like we're not alone.
That's very powerful. That is. So, that's, I think a lot of us, when we get into this, it's always about how can we contribute, right? There's always that growth and contribution thing for us. We like certainty, but we thrive in uncertainty,
Mm-hmm.
right? We thrive. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I love a little fire. It's like, it helps keep you motivated. But you also, it's not necessarily significance, like we all need that, but really when it comes to growth and contribution, when you really start talking to people who are truly out, with that purpose to serve others for the greater good, it's like they just want to grow themselves, because you're never growing. Once you're in a situation like this, you're constantly growing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're contributing to the greater good of others, and it's impactful. So think about the impact that you have with your clients, right?
Yeah.
You're working with your clients and you're able to help them see their vision, impact their communities, do the thing that they want to do to serve their mission at the highest level. Because now I've worked with you, and I know what level of excellence and the standards that you have. And I know what it's like when you work with your clients. Like, it's not like, it's not just, and I don't want to say standard consultants, because I don't want to give consultants a bad name, but there's a level of like, you're really deep and personable with them, and you want the best of everything that they can do. You can tell that you totally care about the well-being of each and every person, the psychological safety, the well-being of them, and reaching their goals and hitting their mission. And so that's really, I think when you see a lot of us, that's a really powerful why of what motivates and keeps you going with, 7 ventures later that you've started on. But then the question I have though is, when you talk, if you look at your headline, you say how to actually get things done.
Mm-hmm.
How to actually get things done. So you've got this drive about you that you want to, drive and help and serve other people and get them to meet their mission, but you actually know how to get things done. What does that mean? What does it mean?
Means that I also know how to actually not get things done, because I spent a lot of time actually not getting things done, just staying busy and things like that. I have a mentor who I've been talking to lately about the concept of speed versus velocity. He's a former executive at an aerospace engineering company. So we've been talking about speed versus velocity. And I used this last week at a training with one of my clients. Speed is just going fast, right? Like, we're going fast, but velocity is directional. I'm not a physicist, so I don't know. You guys can talk about the details in the comments.
Yeah,
yeah, right. But it's really that. Actually getting things done is, first of all, knowing what actually needs to get done, and then being able to set up your work in a way that's very direction focused. And that's what I am super passionate about doing.
So pulling that thread, you said speed versus velocity.
Yeah.
So was he saying he likes speed over velocity?
Velocity, no, because velocity is directional. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like direction focused. Mm-hmm.
Right. Velocity, when we get into some, and everybody don't fall asleep here, but when you start talking about like Scrum or Agile, we've got our burn down, so we know exactly what we're getting complete, and then we've got a velocity chart, right? And a velocity tells us, accurately what we're doing, and then over time, if we're actually going to hit our goals at the same rate that we're moving in. And I like to always tell people, smooth is slow, and slow is fast. This goes back to martial arts, right? And so people have to actually sit down and think, because you can't have quality and speed, right? You can only go as fast as the quality of your product, right? The quality of what you're doing. So people always want to go out and they just rush it down. You got a bunch of 90%ers, 10%ers, or they go out and they go to get things done, and they get it 90%, they're like, it's good enough, and then they move away and they go to something else. And sometimes even 80%, right? So slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's what I'm trying to say. So you have to sometimes stop to actually get something done. You have to actually stop and think about what it is you're trying to do and plan it. And it goes back to, sharpening your axe to cut down a tree versus just whacking at it, right? You sharpen it for 4 hours and you cut it down in an hour. So if you have 5 hours to do it, you sharpen it for 4 and cut down the tree.
What is it? Measure twice, cut once. Is that?
It is.
Sort of like the same thing? Okay.
It's all, but here's the thing. We all know that. And when we really talk about getting things done, the first statement you said was, well, how do you actually, first you have to know what the right things are. So how do people actually know what the right things are? Like, what is something that if you had to give somebody a tip, like, how do you find what the right thing is?
That is a fantastic question. And that's actually one of the biggest problems that my clients have. So, it really depends on where you're at. Like, are we trying to figure out product market fit? Which is the case for one of my clients. They're actually trying to figure out what services do we need to offer? What products do we need to offer? I like using, we all know the Ikigai, right? Ikigai. For like figuring out our own, I see that discussed a lot when we're talking about figuring out our own purpose or direction. But I actually like using it with teams. It's really helpful. What are you passionate about? What are you really good at? What does the world need, or where is their demand? And what will people pay for? That fourth quadrant is always the one that kind of like sends people for a loop.
What people will pay for.
Yeah, that's one way we could figure it out. But if we already know what we offer, the products and services we offer, I like, the GHOST framework, goals, objectives, strategy, tactics.
No.
I like doing a breakdown like that on a whiteboard. What are your goals, objectives, strategy, tactics? Just doing a quick and simple breakdown on a whiteboard. Last week, I did that with a client. We sat in a room for 6 hours and wrote on the whiteboard until we got clear on all of those things. And we knew exactly what we needed to do to get where we wanted to go. That's
cool. You said GHOST?
Yeah, GHOST.
GHOST. I like it. I've used the ICE before, and ICE is, what's the impact we're going to have? What's the confidence that we can do it, and how easy can we do it? Right. That's one way when you're trying to do, like, if you're trying to create a new product, if you're working with somebody that can do with a project and it's like, hey, we got to do this, we want to implement it really quick. It's like, I look at, like, first, what's the level of effort that we have to do with that? Like, what's the whole level of the team? And I like to know, and I go back to standard project management with like scope, schedule, cost, resource, risk, and I rate everything. And I also look at the return on investment. Say, what's the return on investment if we implement this? And then I go, well, what's the priority? If I had 5 of these actions in place, what's the priority of which one of these is going to give us the most return on our investment, whether it be time, cost, schedule, right? Best for the company. And then ICE, what's the impact? What's the confidence we can actually do it? And then what's the ease of the team to do it? Like, because you start talking about, levels. It's one of the biggest things, Kayla, people mess up, I notice, when it comes to getting things done.
What's that?
When we're working, we actually have a million things going on. And when we go into a room and we're present, we have to be present. We're present. We can do it in that room. It's like everything around us falls to the wayside. A lot of people don't think about everything else that's going on. And what they do is they plan a home run game in that room of everything that they're going to do.
Yeah.
And they plan it. And then they run outside and they realize, oh man, I can't do that. And a lot of them plan it as if they're going to work on it for 8 hours. Oh, I got 8 hours. I'm going to plan on 8 hours today.
Yep. Yeah.
And they've only really got with everything else they have on their list of things to do over here, they've really only got 1 hour a day to work on it with the other 12 tasks they have. And so many people forget that. I think that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks. If I was to give anybody advice, and even when I'm coaching people, I tell them that, you know, hey, we're going to do a plan here. And when we're planning, I want to actually know, I want a list of your backlog, of a list of everything you have to must do's in your week. What's your work in progress? So that we can accurately then put the new stuff you want in there and actually see if you can get stuff done.
Oh my gosh. No, it's such an important point because I've seen that a lot too. We don't even factor in things like thinking time and breaks and time off and time spent in meetings and working on other projects and things. So it's a really good point you bring up there.
So this brings me to another question when we start talking, because one of the things here that I really would like to make sure that we discuss here. Let me look at the chat here. Do we got any questions? Anybody got any questions for us right now? Got a lot of awesome people. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. That is awesome. Never knew that freelance project management was a thing too. Just got accepted into a leadership grant and hopefully I'll be starting project management. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. So one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was like, well, you know, how do we actually use project management to help us? Now that's kind of a bad word when you start talking about when you get into working with, you know, founders or small startups. When they start thinking about that, they think the blinders come on because that's not, they're worried about a lot of other things, right? And so I know that I've seen people have a bad rap when it comes to the word project management. But when we talk about project management, we say, how does that help us actually get stuff done? As simple as having a Kanban board, right? Mm-hmm. For a small team can help immensely for them to organize their thoughts and understand what they're doing. So how do you think project management helps even the simplest of business, the earliest stages of a business to the biggest?
Yeah, it's a good point that you bring up also about, you know, most of the time when I'm talking to founders of these types of businesses, they don't really care how we solve the problem. It's right. Just that we get the problem solved. And one of the biggest things is not having visibility into what the team is working on, not knowing what the team should work on. So like you said, a Kanban board is a great way to kind of immediately give visibility into that and get everything out there and on the board. That's a really big one. Missed deadlines and missed opportunities is a big problem I see as well that comes up with founders that I'm speaking to, businesses that I'm speaking to. Again, we can keep track of all of that. If we know the information and have a way to store it and have visibility, we can solve a lot of things. We can solve not understanding where we are financially, which is another big one, not having visibility into, are we on budget? Are we off budget? A lot of this can be solved just by simply taking information and putting it into a proper storage method.
That's interesting. So you're saying basically you just have to capture what it is you do.
You have to. I mean, if we don't have data, then we don't. This is like a team I was working with recently. They didn't know what they didn't know because they didn't know. There was no information. There's literally no information. So we didn't even know what we can improve necessarily. We had to have data first, and we had to have that stored somehow.
It's brilliant. And here's the thing, Kayla. So let's fast forward to some of the experience I have with a $1 billion organization. They have the same problem, but you know what it is? It's the opposite. They have too much.
Too much.
They have so much information that it's like you know when if you have 1,000 priorities, you get nothing. You have no priorities, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody has 1,000 priorities, and everybody write this down. If you have 1,000 priorities, nothing's priority. And so you literally have tons of procedures everywhere, and a lot of them are written by people who no longer even work there in some instances, right? So some places you'll go into and it's like, well, who's the author of this? Oh, they don't work for us no more. And you're like, oh wow. So they have so many of them that you have to it's almost like you've got to go back to baby steps, back to when they're and say, well, what is the actual process that you actually do? Yeah. You know what I mean? You have to literally sit down, and it's the same process that you would go with on the front end of trying to stand up a team with project management. Is you would go in and say, okay, let's find the best. And this is what I found to be really useful. Who actually does the work and who does it really well? And then how can I extract the information? I mean, the most efficient, I want to find the number one top person that can do this task. And I want to extract their information from them. And I'm going to put that down in SOP, and I'm going to put because I can't always have, 100% every time. And then how do we add a few extra steps in there, like some, check marks if needed, and make it as simple as possible so that people actually use it. And you want to, people get so like in the big ones. I mean, there are people who write 60-page big ones in the enterprises. They write 60-page documents, and they're like, didn't you read the procedure?
So I've actually seen that. It's funny. I've seen that too in small companies, which makes me laugh because it never lasts. You have to create systems and things in a flexible way. Mm-hmm. And when, like you're saying, a 60-page document that's set in stone, there's a time and a place for that, right? But when I'm working with small teams, I usually just, no, that's never going to happen. Nobody's ever going to read it. Nobody has time to read it. We need things that are flexible, easy to use, simple to use. We need to create processes that actually encourage people to use them.
So that really goes back to, the point of this show today is that we wanted to talk about how to actually get things done. And one of them would be, if you were in a startup, what two tips would you give somebody right now who's in a startup that would help them, understand where they're at and where they need to go, and so they could actually get something done? If you had to give 2 tips to a solopreneur trying to start their business, what would it be?
2 tips to a solopreneur that is trying to start their business and they're actually trying to get things done. Okay, that's a good question. I would say, first of all, get your infrastructure set up properly, because when you don't do that from the start, and what I'm talking about is your finances, whatever system you're going to use for that, get your CPA, get all of that kind of stuff set up from the get-go, because it can cause major problems down the road if you don't. Speaking from experience.
Ow! Is it still hot, Kayla?
Yeah. So get your infrastructure set up. The good news is I learned the hard way. I have lots of great tips for that in some of my resources. So that's the good news, is I've gone through the hard stuff. The second thing is really get focused, okay? Because this is the other thing that I see is, and you and I have talked about this, Jeremiah, when people start out and they're a solopreneur, they have like 50 million ideas of things that they want to do. And they have all this energy. They're very excited about launching this business or this journey. And they end up doing so many little things that don't really matter, that they don't actually focus on the thing that does matter, which is usually getting clients and getting business. So what I would do if I were you and you're starting out is get really clear about what it is you do, what it is that you do well and you can get paid for, and just lean really hard into that and forget all of the shiny objects for a while until you actually have some traction and you can do some of the other fun stuff. So my advice is not exciting. Get your infrastructure set up and then actually get clients.
Okay, so this is brilliant. So me and Sam kind of mentioned this. We talked about this on a show we did recently as well. And one of the things that we said was that a lot of the best tips are not like super mind-blowing. It's not, it's simple because you've done it, you see it, you know it, and you're saying, hey, simplest path forward is to get your infrastructure done. And this just reminds me of something that I like to think of is like, you can either guesswork, right? You can guess for it. You can do hard work, or you can have frameworks. Mm-hmm. Frameworks are there for a reason. And one of the number one things you see people fail, and so I have 2 tips, and my tips are going to echo yours because it's the right thing to do. You have to have a foundation, and the sooner you can get your foundation under you, the better off you are. And you have to actually get into a cadence with it. So you need to leverage frameworks. So a lot of us have, think about it like this, Kayla. A lot of us we talk about, can leadership is it innate or is it taught? Can you teach it? And the answer is both. It can be innate. Some people have different levels of how they, on the scale of introvert, extrovert for the personality. Some people are like fire. Other people are like half on fire. Other people are like, look, I'm chilling. I stay away from fire. Fire stresses me out. But they all can learn through frameworks and models and methods on how to do certain things at the right time. So anywhere that we lack, if we can have self-assessment, if we can do self-awareness and understand our current environment, what we're doing, and then if we can take and say, okay, well, what frameworks or models can I pull in to offset these things that I'm not great at? Like, and I'm just going to say this, one of the best things, validate your product, right? There's a framework out there. You can look at lean startup, right? There's frameworks and canvases that you can just look at simply to get you moving right now. Then you have to go, well, how do I make money? Sales. Get good at sales. So now I got a product. I don't have a shiny object. I have a product that's validated. Whoops, sorry. And then I've got frameworks that I'm going to leverage for this. And then I'm going to really work on my sales techniques, because my sales is going to be everything, because that brings in money. But then I throw in the third, I'm throwing a little bonus here. Project management. And I say simple project management because the minute right there, everybody fell asleep. There's some people who are like, I got to go. So he did it. But you want to implement project management productivity methodologies. And you want to do it simply and incrementally evolve it as you evolve. There's no need throwing in Primavera P6 and all these fancy other tools if you literally just need a task list and a CRM to know who you're calling and when you're calling, and you're just leveraging productivity and get into flow and cadence. And I find that to be the most powerful thing that anybody could, if they can start up and you're a single solopreneur trying to kick off your business, get a framework, get a model, a method, get a product that's actually going to be validated that you know you can sell, like you said, and then implement the simplest of productivity tips.
I love it. 2 more pro tips. Okay, here's something I started doing this year. I have a weekly meeting with myself every Friday. Yeah, just like I do with the teams that I work with. I have a weekly meeting with myself, and I go over my finances. I go over what I've achieved. I go over my goals. I go over all of it. Weekly meeting with myself. Second, do you know of the book, The Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman? I recommend this book to anyone who is starting a business, wants to be a solopreneur. This book is everything. It is so good. It will explain all of the business concepts that you have ever dreamed of. It will explain them clearly and simply for you. It's a great book. I'm not affiliated with this book in any way. I just think it's amazing.
Say that again. What was the name of that book?
The Personal MBA.
The Personal MBA.
Yeah.
Has anybody here in the chat, has anybody here read The Personal MBA? So we've got a couple questions coming in here. Let me pull this up really quick. How do you help entrepreneurs who want to use their project management style of doing things to map out the next 3 years to make it possible to run multiple businesses instead of one? And then it seemed like project management boils over into all of you and all of your ideas. Oh, okay. Kayla, do you want to take this one first?
I'm not sure I understand.
So, how do entrepreneurs who want to use it? It sounds like, and you know, Elise, I'm gonna actually go from a little bit of experience here. When you mapping out, in my opinion, mapping out 3 years, it's good to have a vision of where you want to go, like a roadmap. But the world is changing, and your thoughts are going to change as you're starting out. I highly recommend looking at a year, knowing where you want to go in 3, knowing where you want to go in 5. And looking at a year and working backwards from that year to understanding what you want to do in the next 90 days and running that down with everything that you have. And then absolutely pivoting on the way, because a lot of us have really good ideas and we know where we want to be, and we can set that. But on that journey, you never know where it's going to take you. And so if you're running multiple businesses instead of one, to map out the next 3 years to make it possible to run multiple businesses instead of one. So maybe you should answer this question. Do you want to map out, put this in the chat if you're still with us. Do you want to map out how to actually run 3 businesses at once instead of one in 3 years? let's table that. Let's go back to that. Cause it sounds like if he wants to do that, I mean, there's a lot to that, but I still recommend putting together where do I want to be in the next year and then backing down off of that personally. And then in 90-day sprints where I'm just epics, where I'm just running after it.
Use the GHOST framework.
Ghost.
Yeah, it's literally what you're talking about. It's just a different word for it.
Want to run 2 businesses. Let's see here. Let me show this one. He wants to run 2 businesses, and you map out both. Knowing and hearing it has been better for doing one, but it's hard to say no to one.
Oh.
Kayla, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I understand. You want to run 2 businesses, but it's knowing and hearing it's been better to do just one, but it's hard to say no to one. This is a common problem. This is a common problem. I mentioned my whiteboard session last week with a client. We went through the pros and cons of each of the different business ideas and basically came up with sort of like a middle of the road strategy for each of these ideas and gave it 90 days to try out both. See where we're at after 90 days. If it's tanking, then we want to change our strategy, right? Change what we're doing. But I would, just like Jeremiah said, the sprints, those are going to be helpful in this situation because you're getting feedback about what's working, what's not working. Forget like the 3 or 5 year plan. That never works, like Jeremiah said, and just kind of map this out in sprints and make data informed decisions is what I would suggest for that.
And I think the common theme you're going to probably hear from us a lot, even following us, is that as many decisions you can make backed by data, the better off you are. Run it. It's the same with your business. That's why we're saying implement frameworks. Implement a system that says I'm supposed to call 20 people this week for my sales team, or whatever your numbers are, and then at the end of the week, how many did I call, and get data, and then if you made it, why? What did you do? What can you do more? And you get data and you make more decisions. If you don't have data, you're just going from your gut. And a lot of people end up, I want to say it ends up getting a little bit, that's what I'm looking for. It gets a little fluffy. You've got to have data. But I've never seen every project when I've tried to do, I launched a course, I launched a book, and I launched a leadership program all at the same time one time. And I was running all 3 down. And it was supposed to all happen over 6 months. Guess what didn't happen over 6 months? Right? Because and I'm good. I mean, I've handled, a $250 million program with people and was running that down. And I tried to launch 3 things on my own like that. And I had a plan. I had it mapped out. I knew what I was doing every day. And it didn't happen. I ended up getting a book done and the course, but the course took a year and the book took 6 months. I did the book in 6 months.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I run into this problem too. And I'm intimately familiar with it because I have the same problem with my business. I work with business owners who have this problem. Anytime I personally run into an issue like this and I don't know what to do or I don't know what direction to go with my business, I just ask myself, what would I tell a client? Like, I just kind of flip it back on myself. And then what would I tell Jeremiah? You need a client, not a website.
I want everybody to know that changed my life. So the very first time I met Kayla, I wrote a post about this recently, but it's still, it was awesome because I'm sitting there and I was telling her, like, I'm doing all these things. I'm fabulous. I'm going to go on my solopreneur journey. It's going to be brilliant. And and then she's like, you just need a client, not a website. And I was like, right. And it's true. The very first thing you need to do is validate your product, that you have something to sell, and then get a good offer. And then how do you actually conversion? You got to have a conversion system, right? You got to have a conversion system. You got to have a way to actually get people to buy your product.
Yeah. Yeah. I may not be the most popular person for that advice, but it's good advice. It's solid.
About don't get a website?
Yeah. Just focus on getting your client, validating your product, and actually building your offer.
Well, I mean, I spent $2,500 on a website. Here's another thing. If you're going to do any kind of branding too down the road, go to get Wix. If you're going to do the website, get something simple, like a 1-page simple thing you can build on your spare time. pay your little, $150 for the year. You could call them and tell them that give me a 50% discount. You can negotiate with them in the background. They'll work with you. But if you go and you're trying to get like a real website set up that, where you can really get a lot of conversion and it's optimized and SEO and all this jazz, it does you no good. And it's true. And Kayla, when you told me that, I'm serious. I was building this major website, and the thing about it, I didn't even have my brand together. Didn't have anything like that. I wasn't even thinking like that. And so that's really important, is if you're really going to take your business serious, branding is important. Marketing is important, but sales. But first, having a product, and we're just kind of hammering this, but having a product that that people want to buy, not that you want to make. That's very important. A lot of people want to make their product, and they're like, I love it. They fall in love with their product. No, fall in love with your customer. Fall in love with your client, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to fall in love with them, and you got to understand their deepest needs and what can I put out there, and that I'm good. Leverage your unique genius, the thing that you're great at, to create that piece that you can give to them, so you can do it with ease. That's where I go back to ICE. Something I can deliver with ease, because if I have to grind at it, then they're going to be like, why, this person's stumbling and fumbling. Passion wins. You got to be passionate about what you're doing. And yep. Kayla, it was funny you said, when I read Jeremiah's book, I think I found somebody who's more passionate about project management than I am. And it's like, when it comes to project management, I do not know what, but I love it. I just love it. I love what it can do for people, what it can do for the world. I love how the collaboration, how we can build teams, the leadership aspect of it. And if we really played at the highest level, you can learn more about business and project management. It is business. It's business 101 if you're really doing it, if you're doing it right. And there's so much power in that if you lean into that you can do anything with it. So personally, I love project management. So I'm able to take that superpower, and I'm like, I'm just going to lean into PM all day long. That's it. Yeah. I just love it. So let me see here. I just went off on project management. Sorry. I love it.
I knew you would.
But let me see here. Adam's got how to set up a Trello board that works and doesn't instantly become too complicated.
That's
Google. Wait a second. Trello boards should not be complicated.
Adam. I was going to say, it sounds like I'm only saying this because it's Adam. It sounds like maybe a user issue.
So Kayla, what I want to jump into, let me see if there's any more questions. So it looks like we answered his questions. Don't overvalue yourself as you grow. Throw Walt up here. Walt, how you doing today? Service will pay more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Don't undervalue yourself.
Mm-hmm. So when we start talking about the overlaps between freelance project management and helping businesses get things done, when you talk about freelancing, let's go freelance, and you talk a lot about this in your ebook, the difference between freelance project management and consultants and contractors, right? So what really is the difference, if you don't mind me asking? Like, if you were to, they all seem to kind of intersect, because at the end of the day, you're selling yourself and you're signing up for a contract, essentially. What really is the difference?
I mean, there is overlap. Right. So with freelancing, you own your jobs, you own your schedule, you own the work that you take. You still have clients, obviously, and you could be a freelance consultant. A consultant is hired for their expertise, right, to solve a problem. So you could be a freelance consultant. Contractors have a contract with a company. And obviously, as a freelancer, you could have a contract. As a consultant, you could have a contract. So I do go into detail in my freelancing guide about this, and there is some overlap. I've been all of them, honestly, and it's very difficult to figure out what to sometimes call myself because of that. But I've done it all, and I now call myself, I think the new buzzword is fractional, right? And so I'm using that a lot more now. I'm sorry, my dog is whining. He's here whining really bad and probably needs to go out. I think I need to take him out. Is that okay?
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah, we got this.
Sorry, a little uncomfortable, but he's elderly. Hang on.
No worries. We got you covered. All right, everyone. So now you're stuck with me. So what are your tips? I'm gonna pull this question up and get it ready. to go, but I'm just going to jump through here really quick. See, we've got a lot of good comments. I really appreciate all of you showing up for this. This is great. Kayla's got a wealth of knowledge on this, and especially when we're really focused on starting up, businesses. A lot of us want to, we're either in the process of starting our business, or we're in the process of helping other people start a business, or we're on some, freelance project management, or in our project management careers. And if you follow any one of us, you're really going to be able to get a lot of depth and breadth into what it really takes. And the interesting thing is, a lot of us are just following really, really sound project management methodologies, but we're removing some of the jargon and the complexity, right? And so when you really start looking at things for how do I actually, kick this business off, those frameworks and keeping things as simple as keep it simple, stupid. As much as you can keep things simple is the number one thing that I see people get in trouble with. And another pro tip right now for everybody who's watching, if you have a problem with delegation, if you have to keep your hands in everything and because you feel like you're the only one that can do it, start figuring out a way now. Anybody who's starting their business, start figuring out a way now to learn the art of delegations. There's frameworks out there for how to delegate. And that right there is going to be what gives you freedom, because that's what I do. I personally, I'm on a mission to give people freedom, right? And it's like, you have to have freedom. You have to have capacity to be able to make the big decisions. And some of your businesses, when you're launching them, you got to be able to have that capacity to be able to delegate the stuff and have so that you can do more and do the high dollar tasks. So just make sure you're thinking about that. Number one thing that you want to learn now is start learning how to delegate as you start growing and scaling your business. All right. How'd it go, Kayla?
It's good. He's fine. He's better. Thank you. Thank you for your understanding.
We were partying. We were over here. We were just, we were delegating. Okay, so what are your tips for navigating starting your own solo enterprise while you are employed by a full-time employer? I hear mixed messages about having work-life balance while trying to do this without being perceived as slacking, or at least not do. Hold on. Looks like it cut it off. Or at least not doing your best on your primary job. I think part-time engagement is more acceptable when you are already a consultant. Thoughts?
So I did this. So when I started my business, I was working full time for the first year after I got that second job. Not the second job, after I got the job after I was laid off the first time. Yeah. So I was doing project management work. I was working for agencies and small businesses and managing projects, and I did it in a way to where it was flexible and I could work on it after hours or on the weekend, and kind of made it work for me. And in my situation, it was more about developing relationships. Looking back, it was more about developing relationships and partnerships with those agencies and small businesses, because once I decided to go full time, I then already had connections and opportunities. So, yeah, I mean, I think it would depend on what your end goal is as well, because sometimes people do just want to have a few projects on the side while they're working full time. But if you're wanting to launch a full-time consultancy, then you may have a little bit different strategy for that. But I think starting out, developing some relationships, doing a little bit of work just to kind of build up your, what's the word, resume, I guess we'll say, is a great way to start. Having work-life balance, I mean, you're obviously putting more work on your plate, so you have to figure out, at some point, you have to figure out how you want the scale to go.
This really, I've done this as well, and I'm just going to echo one thing: build your relationships. Your strategy needs to be around, how can I build and deepen the relationships with the people I want to serve? Do I have a product? One, do you have a product that people want? Two, build those relationships. And maybe you're the product. Maybe you're going to go out and sell your services to come in and help fix other people, or work with other businesses to help them stand things up. But at the end of the day, it is about deepening relationships. And it's the biggest lesson learned I have in my career and in my life, is that I'm a high achiever. I run things down, and it took me a long time to learn that sometimes you got to stop, shake the hands of people, understand who they are, and really resonate with them at the deepest level. We talk about our old self. If I could go back 7, 8 years and say, hey, Jeremiah, I'd like to have a conversation with you. Stop running by everybody thinking that you just got to go.
Yeah.
Stop and work and nurture those relationships. Not only build them, but maintain them. Call those people, really understand them. So, and then to echo the other thing is you're actually adding more work to your plate. So welcome to your second job. Welcome to the night shift. Because that's what it is. You work in the day, and then you're going to be working at night, however many hours you want or what you can, but you've got to balance your family. You got to make sure that you're taking care of what's most important to you. And it's hard because you end up doing whiteboard sessions at 10:30 at night, and your wife's not going to be happy, or your significant other's not going to be happy with you.
See, and I think this is where it goes back to the beginning of our conversation, where we were talking about having that entrepreneurial bug, that intensity, that like you just kind of want that in your life. You have that fire for it. If you have that, then you're more willing to sacrifice some of those other things.
Mm-hmm. But make sure you don't sacrifice the most important things.
That's right.
Because we do that. And I've learned that lesson as well. We got a couple more questions we're going to take here. We did start late. We had some technical difficulties. So I'm going to answer a couple questions. And then Kayla, I'd just like to wrap this up. So we'll answer this one pretty quick. How do you standardize gap analysis to ensure you can scope consistently similar projects for similar clients? Consulting freelance feature to master, isn't it to avoid customization? I have specific, you have a base,
yes.
a base template that you customize. It's never going to be, this is how I do it. You just have, here's my core SOP of how I do it. And then my clients are all unique. None of them are really cookie cutter, and I build it for them. And I do customize it, but it's not from scratch.
Yeah. Echoing that. I have the same thing, and it actually took me quite a few clients to go through to build something that I felt was appropriate. I used my first couple rounds of clients to, you do discovery, figure out what works, what doesn't. And then I have my templates that I use. I have a template for even like building a PMO, for all kinds of things. And it works pretty well with the type of clients that I work with, which again are startups and small teams. So it would depend on sort of like what your niche is as well. I think you would customize based on that, so you're not doing further customizations every single time you're working with a new client. Yeah,
it's as much as you can standardize for your own, you customize it as you go, unique to them, but great project managers don't ever do anything from scratch.
Yeah.
And I say that because it's actually, I heard that somewhere and I was like, no, they're right. We don't. We'll find a template, fill it. Sometimes it causes more problems, but once you get good at your own craft, standardize it and customize it as needed.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, this has been great. It's been a great talk. Kayla, thank you for coming here. I'd like to take a minute and just wrap this up. Tell us a little bit about your business, where you're at, how we can find you, and let's go.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I work with founders and entrepreneurs who have teams of anywhere between 2 to 30 employees, and I work with them on operationalizing their efforts, building their teams, streamlining operations. I use simple project management best practices to do that. You can find out more about that service on my LinkedIn or on my website, which is kaylamcguire.com. I also help project managers who are interested in getting into freelancing or building their own consulting business. I have several resources that are out there for free in the wild that are available to you. You can actually find them all on my LinkedIn profile. If you just click on the button, my link on my LinkedIn profile, I have everything listed there. You can also visit my YouTube channel, lots of videos on there. I have a freelance project manager guidebook as well. Again, it's through my LinkedIn profile. I have all that stuff linked on my Linktree. link. I just said link 3 times, but that is it. That's where you can find me.
That's awesome, Kayla. Thank you so much. And, honestly, everybody, just to echo that, her freelance project management ebook has been very helpful on my journey. So I highly recommend it. And I know that she's gotten some good feedback, because any good project manager would do is they get the feedback and they're updating it. It's going to be awesome. And I highly recommend Kayla. She's an awesome person, and I really enjoy, working with you and getting to know you. And I hope everybody here has gotten to know us all a little bit better.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. So now remember, Project Revolution, check us out. You can check me out on LinkedIn. Go to my features section. It shows everything that I do and what I'm about and where you can reach me. If you have any questions, reach out to either one of us. We're here for you. And this has been awesome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the comments. And we'll see you all in the next one.
Awesome.
Yeah. Bye.